Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm excited to introduce you to my guest today, Dara Sklar. She is the productivity expert you never knew you needed until right now. A Google Tools powerhouse and funnel gorgeous master marketer, Dara will help you turn digital organization into the quiet hero of your business. As a lifelong entrepreneur, organization addict, and creator of the wildly popular Get Productive with G Suite online course, which I love, Dara has been saving business owners from messy systems and frustrating tech for years. Woohoo! By asking, how can we make this more efficient? She helps her clients spend less time in the weeds and more time scaling a business that they love. Welcome, Dara.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me and for inviting me to be here with you.
Thank you so much for being had. I'm thrilled. So I found you from a Facebook ad, of which it said this is a separate aside. I should really ask you as a business owner too. Obviously, those Facebook ads are working because I'm seeing a lot of them. So you just keep upping them so they're working. But that's where I found you, and I was absolutely drowning in inefficiencies and disorganization, and that is such a time waster, and it can drive you crazy. And I honestly, from my perspective, I never knew if I was just disorganized, or if it was my cog fog from my MS acting up. And that's really frustrating. So I signed up for your course and I started on it right away. And I mean, right away, like within the first 20 minutes, I was having these aha moments and the light bulbs were going off. I'm like, are you kidding me? I could do this all along and I never knew it. Yeah, it was really great. And you helped me so much to organize everything. And it was all right there on my computer already. I didn't even have to buy any new stuff. I just feel like an idiot for having done what I've done all along, but I'm so grateful to have found you. But how did you get interested in G Suite and organization, and why build a course about it? But thank you for doing it, by the way.
You're welcome. And I'm so grateful for that feedback. And, I also feel bad when you say, I feel like such an idiot for having been this way all along, when it was so easy to shift, because there's no sense in beating yourself up. And I think it is actually one of the things that I talk about directly in the course is like, leave the past behind. Like you can be a better version of yourself right away. So I'll just start by clarifying, because I use the term G Suite just because it's like easy verbal shorthand for Google's suite of tools. Google gives you free tools like Gmail and Google Drive. And as soon as you have a Google account, you have access to an entire suite of the tools that are all connected to that account, like Calendar or Google Chrome and all of the different tools that Google provides.
And an account could be a Gmail account. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, right.
There's a few different ways you can have a Google account. One is if you have a Gmail email address. Yeah. And the second is if you have a Google Workspace, which used to be called G Suite, which is why I named it that way, not because the course is old, but because, anyways, it doesn't really matter. But Google Workspace is the paid version of Gmail for businesses, like where it's instead of @gmail.com, it's at your website.
Yeah.
URL, so your email address. But it works essentially the same way. And I came from a corporate job where I started a side hustle. And in my corporate job, I was working using Outlook as an email program, as many of us did long ago. Mm-hmm. And when Gmail came along, I was just blown away by how thoughtful a program it was. Like I would always struggle with my Outlook, that I was overwhelmed by emails. I felt like I had to file every single email. Yeah. And the moment that Gmail came along, it had such robust search capabilities because, hey, it's built by Google. My phone just woke up because I said the word Google. I said the magic word every time I say Google.
I always have a friend right there with you.
Exactly. So basically, I just fell in love with Gmail and started using all of those tools as I started my side hustle. And I have been in business for over 15 years, and I literally can go back and find every communication and file and transaction from every client from that entire time, which has really come in handy many times. Wow. But to answer your question about how did I come up with creating a course about this, I have always, what I've done for a living has been consulting on a variety of things, websites and marketing and whatever. And every time I sit down next to someone, if I'm the one on my computer, they say to me, wow, you're so fast. Or if I'm looking over their shoulder, I'm like, here's how you can do this better. And I needed to find a way to get people to want me to tell them how to do things better. Yeah. Because I love to tell people how to do things better. And honestly, it's a bit of a long story that I won't bore you guys with, but I had this epiphany that I could present that material in a context that everybody understands, and everybody has Google products in some capacity.
Right.
So I created a course all about how to be more efficient overall in your life and business, and by using these Google tools, which you already have, or you're already paying for, or maybe you're already using for free, whatever it is. But thankfully I hit the nail on the head, because I have over 3,000 students in the course. As you say, the Facebook ads are following you.
Yes.
So
it
was obviously a very needed, and I get feedback like yours all the time, which I'm so grateful for. But it's obviously a very needed topic.
No joke, sister. I can't thank you enough. And I have a very big mouth, and I've been sharing this all over the place. So probably a good portion of that 3,000 came from right here. I'm sure your Facebook ads are working too, but so's this mouth. So that's the why. Let's start at the beginning. Why should people choose G Suite over the plethora of other organizational and efficiency tools that are available? And let me just start with a little confession. And I'm sure a lot of people this will resonate with. I have shiny object syndrome, where I'm like, oh, that looks like a great program, I'm just going to go buy that. And then I might half learn it, but oh, that doesn't really do what I need it to do. Oh, wait, this one looks good. So I have all these different, efficiency and organization tools that just sit there that I have paid for. And all along, this was right in here. So I probably just answered that question. Yeah, because it all works.
I'm going to go a little bit deeper on exactly what you started off by saying. And the real answer is that I'm not here to sell you on using Google tools. What I'm here to do is actually teach you how to go deeper on the tools you're already using.
Yeah.
And that's the answer, is that you don't need something new in order to do it better. It's the user and how well you're using the tool that makes you more or less efficient with it. And what I find is that most people, just like you mentioned, they kind of scratch the surface. They either stop learning how to use it properly and move on to something else, or they just kind of plateau with their understanding of it, struggle with it without even realizing they're struggling, because they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And they never really go deep into using the tool properly. So if you knew thoroughly how to use any tool for your, for your own situation, you would just be that much more efficient, because you just know what you're doing better. And you know how to navigate through it faster, and you know how to set up the little shortcuts that are available that you just maybe never even knew to ask about, which we will totally talk about.
Yes. So true. And the other thing I really like is that it is truly a suite. There are all kinds of things within there. So, when I was buying these onesie twosie things, they might be able to handle one thing, but, I'd have to buy something else to handle another thing. And then this one didn't talk to that one. Whereas G Suite, they play nicely together, don't they?
Yeah. And this is not for us to encourage people to go and change what they're doing and come over to G Suite. This is like, don't forget that what you're using probably will work for you. The best advice I can give is not to have 5 different places that you take notes, or 5 different places that you store files. And by places, I mean like different applications, because if you have Evernote and you have Google Keep and you have, I don't know, whatever, the notepad on your computer and the notepad on your phone, and you never remember where you've written something down, then that is in and of itself the inefficiency. And so narrow it, again, this is more overarching advice than Google specific, but I think it's really valid, is like pick one primary and maybe one secondary place where everything goes, because, and coming back to my comment earlier about Google being good for search, is you will be able to find it if you know where to look.
Exactly. You got to know where to look first.
Exactly. If you don't know which of the 5 drawers you've put something in, you're going to look through all 5 drawers before you find it.
Probably. Oh my God. So true. So true. So how can getting and staying organized help you in your business?
I love this question. And there's just so many ways to answer it.
I know. And I'll share mine too when you're done talking, but you have changed my business for the much better. So
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
And I will say, let's look at this from the opposite perspective. So if you're disorganized, what happens? Well, you probably don't look that great in front of your clients, because you look like you're scrambling, or you're not quite ready to, or you're embarrassed to bring on someone to come and help you because you can't delegate to them because your back-end systems are a mess. Or every time you go to a website, you're hitting forgot password, a website you haven't visited in a while. You're like, oh, what's my password? Hit forgot password, go to your email, get distracted by what's in your inbox and forget about the thing that you were in the middle of doing.
Yes.
Or you're constantly re-downloading the same files over and over again. This is like the number one complaint that I hear.
Yes.
And so those are all things that, and I think about it, here's a little bit of an analogy. If I'm going somewhere that I haven't been before, and I have my Google Maps and it's telling me all the directions, and I'm like just following the directions and I get there, and that's great. But imagine if every single time there was a turn or a step, I had to pull over to the side of the road, open up my phone, look at the instructions, and then get back on the road. Like, it would be a much longer voyage to get to my destination. True. And that's what happens when we get distracted with re-downloading files, hitting forgot password, not knowing where things are stored. All of this infrastructure that you don't have set up, it's not only the inefficiency of like having to search through and try and find it, it's also the inefficiency of distraction in the moment of, I'm on my way to this destination, but wait, I'm going to pull over and stop. And then where was I going again? And then like that change. And
then you've missed your exit.
Yes,
by
exactly.
that point.
The context switching, the distraction, like those are so, like you probably could do 10 times. I mean, whatever, I can exaggerate all we want, but you understand the point. So on the flip side, to answer your question, if you set yourself up, and you can do this from today, this is not something you need to go back in time and reorganize all the crap that you've gone wrong with.
I love that permission. That's huge. That's huge. You've given us permission not to have to go backwards.
No, exactly. And I honestly found, as I talked to my earliest students, that I just didn't realize that this was something I needed to give.
That was a thing.
For.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then everybody was like, oh, this was so earth shattering, because I always felt like I had to clean up my hoarding problem in order to move forward with my beautiful,
good point,
staged,
staged home
or whatever.
From here forward, it's great, but don't look behind the curtain.
Exactly. And so you can set up the system from here forward, but what it does is it allows you to know exactly where things are, to delegate, and to, every time I write out a procedure and hand it off to my assistant, I never have to do it again. Mm-hmm. Having those shortcuts, like anything that just reduces the amount of distraction or the number of clicks, or even just the smoothness with which you navigate. Like, time is really precious when you're a service provider. Mm-hmm. And the more efficient you are, the more money you get paid.
That's right.
Essentially. So
time is money on one side of that equation or the other, right? Where are you going to spend it? Spend it making it. That's a smarter way of doing it. So what are some of the biggest challenges that people face in learning this G Suite?
I would say that it is simply you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And that's, I know, a very sweeping statement, but something like, did you know that when you have emails that you send out regularly, like the same message again and again, you can actually save templates into Gmail and set those up so that you could, with a few clicks, insert this, instructions, including photos and whatever. You could have a bank of templates of things that you say frequently that are all saved inside of just Gmail, just plain Gmail. I mean, it has to work on your desktop, but like something like that, most people don't even realize that exists, let alone, how to use it.
How to do
or something like, I don't know if you've ever had this where you have like a back and forth communication with either one person or a group of people, and the thread gets really long and there's like 40 messages back and forth.
Yeah.
You can actually highlight specific messages within those 40 so that those jump out to the top of the pile, versus trying to remember which was the one where they acknowledged the thing you've agreed on or given you a password or whatever. And there's a star that most people are probably using wrong inside of Gmail. So all these little things add up. And so it's not a question of challenges of like how, it's not hard to learn. I mean, Google built this platform. See, my phone woke up again. Google built this platform for billions of people to use. Their user experience, the interface is built for people to get it.
Right.
But but you can't get it if you don't even know that it exists, that the settings or the functionality is there. So that is probably, I don't know if it's really a challenge so much as like an opportunity for me to share
good way of
how
looking
people
at
can
it.
use it even better.
Yeah. And as you learn, I can speak to this personally. As you learn these things, I mean, I had light bulbs going off. Like I envisioned that everything lit up over my head like a halo, because I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? And then my confidence grew. Then I was like, that's right, I can do this. Like, I got this. whereas I went into it going kind of like, oh my God, I don't know how to do anything, but I got louder and prouder as I went, as I had more and more, light bulbs go off, I guess. So yeah, and you could see where everything fit together, and oh my gosh, are you kidding? I could just house everything here so I would know where to find it. That's amazing and incredible. And woohoo. Yeah, it was great. But I think tech scares a lot of people, me included, which is probably one of the reasons that no matter what I'm going into, that's, tech involved, I'm going in scared. That's just the way I feel. And I think a lot of people feel that way. But once I determined that this was like, I made a decision, this was what I was choosing, because everything was kind of all in one. And again, we're not trying to talk anybody into this, but just share what is available. But once I made that decision and everything was in one place, I just I breathed. Are you hearing that from a lot of people?
Definitely. And I think it's always these little incremental changes. It's kind of like you can't unknow something.
Yeah.
So a couple of things come to mind for me. One is that when you don't always have to remember how something can be done, but you can remember that it can be done.
Right.
So coming back to the you don't know what you don't know, if you know that something can be done, I gave you a couple of examples, you can go and Google that and watch a tutorial on YouTube, even if you don't remember exactly the steps on where to click.
Yeah.
But the fact that you know that it exists and that it's possible is a first step in the right direction. The other thing that happens is exactly what you said, is that you learn one little thing and it becomes second nature, and it doesn't feel overwhelming. And then you learn another thing and it compounds and it improves. And you're basically, all of our lives, we're maybe just not acknowledging this, but we're always improving ourselves. We're always learning more. We're always getting better at the things that we're doing in our lives.
Hopefully.
So all of this the little incremental progress is huge. And yes. I actually sent out an email to my students last week or beginning of this week. And it was like a little bit of a soapbox moment, because I said, I hear I'm such a tech dinosaur, or I hear people make these blanket statements like, I'm not good at.
Right.
And I think that somebody who says that and goes into any situation with that attitude in mind is stopping themselves from actually being open to learning. And it's, it's different. Nobody's looking to turn nobody's looking to go from 0 to 100. You go from 0 to 1. It's like in weight loss, you lose 1 pound before you lose 10 pounds, before you lose 50 pounds. It's the same thing with learning. You're learning just one thing at a time. Yeah. So I think I understand. And actually I've been, and you can attest to this, but when I explain things, I'm doing it in a very thorough way. And I'm talking to people all the way from beginners through to experienced people. People will pick up what is in their range of skill and ability to take on at any given moment.
Yeah.
We're always absorbing more. And I often feel that the more I know, the more I can learn.
Yeah.
So
because you're expanding your brain. Right.
Exactly.
I get that.
Exactly.
Yeah. And to that point, I love that this is an online course that will be there. So for myself, I can learn something but I might not retain it, like you said, but I'm like, I have this inkling that there is a way to do this. And now I know where to go to find it, because I've already purchased this course. I can go back and rewatch the videos and relearn as many times as I need to until it sinks in there. But even if it doesn't sink in, Dara's got my back. So great. So I'm sure after hearing all of this, people are excited to see the power of small tweaks, as you say. So can you give us a nugget or two and give everyone some quick wins? Oh,
definitely. And I don't want anybody to take this as some kind of sales pitch for my course. I think you brought me on because you were really excited about the way that I presented something that was so transformational for you, but in such a basic,
100%.
Understandable way. So I definitely am I have nothing to hide. But the course is very comprehensive. So I'm going to definitely leave you and your listeners with some ideas. One of them, which we already talked about a little bit, was just not to worry about the mess from yesterday and backwards. Mm-hmm. What you want to do is the day that you decide that you're going to be a little bit more organized in however you've got things set up. Let's imagine we're talking about computer files just for the illustration of this example, but we can refer to emails as well. So the first thing is, our businesses, as we build them, we don't know on day one of the business opening its doors what it's going to be like on day 365 and 3 years down the road and so on. So how what services we're providing, what processes we're doing internally, who's going to be working for us, who we're working for. All of these things are kind of unknown at the start. And so it's actually kind of normal to start and just kind of layer on top of whatever you're doing. But you can look at your business today and kind of look back and say, okay, well, I know what my business needs now. So I'm going to build a system. As if, they say, like, if you knew then what you know now. So you're basically going to say, I'm going to set up a whole bunch of new folders on my computer that are for the way that I do my business now. And the thing about computer files is that you can just like literally turn over here, click once, and pull something from the past into the current. Mm-hmm. And so what you'll do, and I heard the statistic that it's over 80% of the files that we create that we never need again. Oh, so if you were to spend time trying to untangle the mess that you created in the past, and like, I'm not saying you won't ever have to go back into your past files. Obviously, there's lots of reasons that you might need to, but you create this system from now on. And then you bring forward anything that's current. You bring forward into your new setup, this blank shot. I use the example of like building the house next door. And the house next door gets to have all the closet organizers, all the space you ever wanted. It's the perfect house for who you are today versus who you were 10 years ago when you bought your house. And you get to leave all of your crap behind in the old house. Yeah, and then, but it's right next door. So anytime you need something, I need that pot or that tool or whatever, you just go next door and get it, and you bring it and you put it in your nice, new, shiny, closet organized, perfect house.
Right.
So you can do the same thing with your files. The same thing can also happen with your emails. And with Gmail, the storage capacity is so big, you could literally just go and archive all your emails and then just be determined to like unsubscribe, label things, filter emails, just be better at it from now on.
Yeah.
And just shove everything else under the rug. Like, it doesn't need to, anyways, I could go on and on, but that was like my primary point.
Because I think that.
That's how to get people to start, how to
it's
incentivize
freeing.
them.
It's freeing. Like I said, you're giving us permission, and that is freeing for sure. Quick question about what you just said. So the Gmail archiving everything, does that count against your space?
It does. So anything that's archived, it is, if it's archived, it's just not sitting in your inbox.
Gotcha.
Okay. Doesn't mean that you can't find it through search, which is really the only thing you should be doing. And actually that brings me, I had a little list here. So it actually brings me to my second idea and second tip, which is use search instead of scroll. So imagine if you, I get this quite often where somebody will go and they'll go into a folder on their computer and they'll scroll through pages and pages of files, which is, a normal behavior.
Recognize that behavior.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's unnecessary because we're using, like, the technology that we have today actually allows us to search for things. There are search bars everywhere we go. So use different keywords or file names that are descriptive, so that when it comes time to go looking for something, you can go and just search for it using those words versus using your eyes to scroll. You're going to type it in. The same thing goes for emails. I get people who feel like they need, just like I did with my Outlook, that they need to file every single message that comes into a folder. You don't need to do that. You can archive it. You can search by name. You can search by content. You can search by date range. Like, the search capabilities in the advanced search are thorough, as they would be from a company that is founded on search.
Right.
Exactly. And I know I've talked to you about this before, but this is just a general, this is not a tech tip, but I just really love how much of a difference this makes just in my perspective on getting things done in a particular way, which is Jerry Seinfeld's Night Guy, Morning Guy. He had like a 1-minute clip. It was actually like the opening scene of one of the episodes. And he basically is railing on, he's like complaining about Morning Jerry hates Night Jerry. Night Jerry is such a lazy jerk, and he doesn't shave, and he doesn't lay out his clothes, and he leaves dirty dishes, and he just like makes Morning Jerry's life really hard.
Yeah.
And in my life, I always try to think about, well, am I going to hate myself for not doing this in the morning or later on, And I remember having, in the very early days of my business, I was always like, I'll figure that out later.
Right.
And let me tell you how much that bit me in the backside, like for so long. And if you can get away from that thought process, if every time you have that little voice that's like, you'll do it later. If it takes you a minute later, but it'll take you 1 second now, like, do it now.
Right. Present me can give future me a gift. Right.
And I thank my past self all the time for the little things that I do. And here are some tech tips on that topic. you send me an email and you're like, here's the Zoom link for our meeting. I go to my calendar, Zoom links in the calendar. That way at 10:59, when I'm scrambling for my 11 a.m. meeting, I am not scrambling for the email. I am going to my calendar and clicking, and that's it.
Brilliant.
And also, if I'm driving to a physical destination, as well, I haven't done in a couple of years, but at some point in my life, I used to leave
the house.
Does
that still happen? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But what was great, what I did, I'll never forget the exact moment that my friend was like, oh, that's really smart. And it had never occurred to me that I was just doing this thing, which was putting the address of my appointments into my calendar. Mm-hmm. And she was like, oh, I'm always running late and scrambling and I can never. So little things like this, where it's like, right now it takes a second because it's in front of you and it's going to save you so much time when you're scrambling late. And I've mentioned to you, like my husband fills his car up with gas the night before because he knows in the morning he's going to be like, oh, I didn't make those extra 5 minutes. So all of these little things add up, and the behaviors, or I think I mentioned to you how I make a pot of tea, or I boil water, hot water, pour my tea. While the tea is steeping, I fill the kettle so that the next time I go to boil water, all I have to do is flip the switch. So like all of these little things that we do.
Efficiencies.
Yeah. And it's like this overarching attitude for doing your future self a favor.
Yes.
You're always going to be grateful for that.
Yeah, no question. I totally agree with that. And I think it's fun that you just mentioned 2 things that I just inherently did. I'm thrilled by that because there wasn't a lot of others, but those 2, putting in the address and putting in the Zoom in my calendar always. And I don't know why, I just was drawn to doing that. And I have seen other people who don't do it. And I'm like, sorry for your luck, but if you had done that earlier.
Well, and this is why I love to share these ideas, because they're so basic and they're so good. I still have people to this day coming and saying, like when I launched my course, I had friends who were like, I'm still using the systems you taught me years ago. And it's just such I love being the hero in this situation.
Yeah. So, you are a hero too.
I've got one more tech tip that I just find is a very, very useful one. So inside of your web browser, I'm going to use Chrome as the example because I obviously like Google products.
Yes.
But inside of your web browser, you can have your, what's it called? Bookmarks. So you can have bookmarks that you drag and drop you take the little icon that's a lock to the left of the address bar. You take it and you can drag and drop it onto your bookmarks bar. You can also put them into folders, which is nice. But the tip that I want to leave you with is if you were the kind of person, I'll use the example of like checking the exchange rates. I'm in Canada, you know that, but your audience maybe doesn't. I'm in Canada. I care what the US dollar is doing. So every few days I'm looking at what the US exchange rate is. So instead of going to my banking homepage and clicking here and clicking here, I actually just bookmark the rates page.
Yeah.
Or I bookmark a Google Doc that I'm in the middle of working on, or a Google Drive folder that I'm working on. So instead of the tip is bookmark deep links.
Yeah.
So things that you would normally have to navigate to.
Yeah.
Bookmark the thing that you're going to, not the homepage.
Right.
A lot of people think that like a favorites is just, you put a star on the homepage and then you click and then you click and then you click. So I'll give you another example. I have a Zoom folder in my Chrome, and inside there it's recordings, meetings, settings. And so rather than going to Zoom's homepage, I click on recordings and it takes me directly to the recordings folder. So all of these little ways of saving a few steps and saving me from distraction, to be honest, makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And saving you frustration.
100%.
We all have enough of that in our lives. I just wrote down a quick question that's totally just for me. So sorry, but if you own the podcast, you get to ask the questions you need. So I guess my Mac mail is basically a mail aggregator. So all of and I think now I have 6 Gmail accounts show up there, right? So I can always see how many, like I get a ding and it's right here. So I'll check over there. Is that not an efficient way to deal with Gmail? Like, should I literally be going into Gmail? Because I think there have been situations where like I will think that I am deleting a bunch and I'm in Mac mail, but then I get a ding, like you're almost out of Gmail space. I'm like, what the hell? I just spent all that time getting rid of that. And I should actually be going right into Gmail, shouldn't I?
If you were trying to delete,
answered my own question, I think.
Up, yeah. If you're trying to clean up,
yeah,
then yes, you probably need to go directly, because usually what happens, and the settings can be different, but usually what happens with a third-party mail application is it's pulling in the information from the webmail. And it probably has a setting that says, if I delete it here, don't delete it there.
Oh, bugger. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so you would, if you were doing a cleanup, you're going to do the cleanup in webmail. Now, the thing about those talking to each other is like, you're not doing anything wrong. And I just want to like say, I am a big advocate for, if it's not broke, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, don't go and try and change something that is working for you. Just make the adjustments so that it works for you better. And in the case of MacMail, it sounds like just that understanding of how they talk to each other will be a big help. Yeah. And it should theoretically bring in the mail in the same way that it's kind of organized on your webmail. And the other benefit to having your webmail set up nicely, even if it's still coming in through MacMail, is that on your phone, like if you're out and about or if you're on a different computer, that you still have access, right? Because what you don't want, in my opinion, what you don't want is the program on your computer that if your computer broke, you'd be hooped because all your emails was on it. And that's, years ago of seeing Outlook and having, this hard drive fried, and now, well, everything's gone.
Everything's
and you're relying on that storage. And the beauty of the cloud is that it's all there and you can switch from computer to computer. And I have a laptop and a desktop, and I love that at any moment I can just open up my laptop, and as long as I'm on the internet, I'm still in the same place. Yes. Like I can pick up where I left off.
What a gift. Isn't that the truth? Woohoo. Well, Dara, this has been incredibly enlightening. There's so much that we can do to increase productivity and organization with tools most of us already have, which is a bonus. So getting organized is one of the very best things I did for my business. And you and your course were integral to that goal. Truly. Thank you so much for sharing this with us here on the PGP podcast. Dara is one of our PGP experts offering a deeper dive training inside the membership. If you'd like access to that workshop and the downloadable PDF, Top 40 Time-Saving Google Hacks You'll Wish You'd Been Using All Along, she's sharing exclusively with our community. Go to patiencegettingpaid.com and join us on the inside for this and many other trainings for chronicpreneurs. And Dara, for those folks not in the membership yet being the operative word there, where can they go to find you?
They can look me up at withdara.com. And that pretty much would direct you to any of the things that I've got going on. I'm obviously also on social media under Dara Sklar, although fun fact, as much as my name is probably a pretty uncommon one, I don't know very many other Daras, and there are definitely not many Sklars. There is another Dara Sklar in the world. So
really?
Yeah,
wow,
I know.
That's kind of crazy.
I'll tell you the story sometime. I've met her in person, actually.
Oh, that is so cool. I definitely, okay, after we stop recording, I want to hear that. If you want to go straight for her course and learn more about that, which is phenomenal, I can't speak highly enough of it, here's where to find that. That's at patiencegettingpaid.com/productivity. Thanks again for being here and sharing this really valuable information, Dara. And I look forward to seeing you on the inside of the membership for your deep dive workshop. Thanks so much, Dara.
Thank you again for having me.